You've seen it happen, right? That one little sound, a frustrated sigh from across the table, and suddenly, boom, the entire energy of the room just shifts. It's kind of wild how much power our emotions have, especially at work. Today we're going to get into how you can manage that power.
All right, welcome. In this explainer, we're going way beyond just noticing our feelings. We're talking about actively managing them, turning that awareness into a kind of leadership reflex that can help you steer meetings, keep your team calm, and honestly, protect your own focus and energy.
You know, when productivity takes a nosedive, we usually blame the obvious stuff. Bad planning, tech issues, you name it. But so often the real culprit is this unseen force, unmanaged emotions. It's the secret reason a project just stalls out or a team completely loses its way.
Think about it. Every single job has these unwritten emotional rules. You're supposed to be calm with a client, patient with a coworker, or optimistic about a deadline, even when you're not feeling it. That effort? Well, it's called emotional labor, and it comes in two very different flavors.
Okay, this distinction is absolutely crucial. Surface acting is basically putting on a mask. You're forcing a smile while inside you're totally frustrated. Deep acting, on the other hand, is a real mindset shift. It's about changing how you genuinely feel on the inside. You know, like a stressed out nurse who takes a second to connect with their purpose. I'm here to help, and then actually finds that feeling of compassion. One drains you, the other can actually sustain you.
So this brings us to a guy named Jared. He's in this super high-stress admin role, taking calls all day from upset patients. And his job requires him to just plaster on a polite tone no matter what. But what's the long-term cost of performing like that all day, every day?
Well, the consequences are pretty serious, because what you're feeling on the inside doesn't match the outside. That surface acting just drains your battery. For Jared, this wasn't just some theory. It turned into real-world headaches, insomnia, and that awful feeling of dreading going to work. It's a fast track straight to burnout.
So, why do we even have these super intense reactions in the first place? It's time to dig into the science a little bit, to look at our emotional triggers and see what's actually happening when our brain's ancient alarm system takes the wheel.
I want you to just imagine this for a second. You've spent weeks on a report. You're in a huge meeting, and your manager just says, "This analysis really missed the point." Oof. This actually happened to Carlos, a senior analyst. How would you react? Well, that intense, immediate feeling you'd get, it has a name.
It's called an amygdala hijack. In that split second, Carlos's brain saw that comment as a major social threat. Its little threat detector, the amygdala, just took over, completely overriding his logical brain. Rational thought just goes out the window, and all you want to do is fight back, or just shut down. Just recognizing this hijack is the first step to getting back in control.
And here is probably the most important point of this whole thing. You are never going to eliminate triggers. It's impossible. Deadlines will move, people are going to interrupt you, tough feedback is going to sting. The real skill isn't about avoiding these moments. It's about how quickly you can bounce back from them. Okay, so how do you actually do that? How do you bounce back faster? Let's get into the practical toolkit. This is a simple, repeatable process that you can use anytime to reset yourself when things get intense.
These 5 steps are so simple, but they're incredibly powerful. First, you just pause, take a breath, create a little space between the trigger and your reaction. Second, name the emotion. Just saying to yourself, okay, this is frustration, can actually dial down its power. Third, reframe your perspective. Try to see the situation as data, not a personal attack. Fourth, act. Choose your response deliberately instead of just reacting. And finally, take a moment to recover afterward, to let that stress actually leave your body. Now, this leads us to a really powerful shift in mindset. What if your emotions weren't just annoying distractions you had to suppress? What if they were actually useful data points trying to tell you something really important? When you learn to decode these signals, you can stay grounded and act with so much more clarity.
Let's take anger. Anger is almost always a signal that one of your boundaries has been crossed. So when Priya, a marketing specialist, got left out of a huge decision, she felt that flash of anger. But instead of lashing out, she read the signal. Her action? She calmly went and requested to be included in the planning next time.
Okay, what about anxiety? Anxiety is pretty much always pointing to uncertainty. If you're feeling anxious before a big presentation, that's your brain signaling that you need more clarity or preparation. The action is to use that signal. Go review your notes, practice your talking points, and actively shrink that uncertainty. And frustration. Oh, this one is maybe the clearest signal you'll ever get. It just means a goal you have is being blocked. That's it. The second you see it that way, you can stop getting mad about the frustration and start strategically solving the problem that's actually in your way.
So let's look at this in action. Say you're frustrated because IT delays are blocking your project. The signal is clear. Your goal is blocked. So the possible action is to reprioritize other tasks or escalate to get support. Or what about a daily one? Your goal to get home is blocked by traffic. The frustration is the signal. So the action? Shift gears. Use that time for a podcast or call a friend. It's all about shifting from just reacting to taking smart action.
Now, this isn't just about managing yourself, because we all know emotions are contagious. When Diego saw his teammate spiraling into anger over a system crash, he didn't just tell him to calm down, which, let's be honest, never works. First, he validated the feeling. I can see this is incredibly frustrating, and then he redirected the team's focus toward finding a solution. Validate, then redirect.
Look, none of this works if it just stays as an interesting idea in your head. To actually make these skills stick, you need a plan. Vague goals like, I'm going to try to be calmer, they just don't work. You've got to be really specific.
Here's a super simple but scientifically backed way to do it, an if-then plan. For Monica, who had a habit of snapping when she was interrupted, her plan was this. If I feel interrupted, then I will pause and ask to finish my thought. See how that works? This simple script creates a new automatic response. It turns a trigger into a cue for a much better habit.
So, at the end of the day, managing your emotions isn't about becoming some kind of robot who feels nothing. It's about building resilience. It's the ability to feel something, to understand the signal that feeling is sending you, and then to choose your response effectively. These skills don't just help you at work, they make every part of your life better. So my question for you is, what one habit will you commit to building starting today?